All right, let's talk about the Shakespearean monkey. I know, it sounds a little out there, right? But stick with me, because this one idea is going to really stretch how you think about chance, infinity, and maybe even where creativity comes from.
So check this out. Here it is, just sitting in a park, laptop out. He's even got the little glasses on, looking surprisingly serious. The caption says he's working on his novel. And for a second, you almost believe him.
But that really is the big question, isn't it? If we just left this little guy here tapping away at random on the keyboard forever, could he, just by pure accident, create something incredible? Something like, I don't know, the complete works of William Shakespeare? So this brings us to our first question. Is this just a funny picture, or is there something more going on here?
And the answer is, oh yeah, there's way more to it. This image, as fun as it is actually a perfect doorway into a famous thought experiment that has totally fascinated mathematicians and philosophers for more than 100 years.
So let's give this idea its proper name, shall we? It's called the infinite monkey theorem. Now, what's really important here is the specific wording. It says a monkey hitting keys at random for an infinite amount of time will almost surely type out a specific text. Now, in mathematics, almost surely is this really cool term that basically means it's guaranteed to happen even if there's some tiny theoretical microscopic chance it won't. Those three things, the randomness, the infinity, and that near certainty, that's the whole recipe. You can really boil the whole thing down to this one simple idea. If something has even a tiny, non-zero chance of happening, well, if you give it an infinite number of tries, it's not just possible, it's pretty much a guarantee. Okay, infinite time is easy to say in theory, but let's actually try to put some real numbers to this and see just how staggering the odds really are. Let's start small. Forget Shakespeare for a minute. How about just one little three-letter word? W-H-Y. On a simple keyboard, just 26 letters, no numbers or symbols. What do you think the odds are? 1 in 17,576. That's 26 times 26 times 26. So already it's way less likely than you might have guessed, and that's just for 3 letters. All right, now let's scale it up. Let's not even do the complete works. Let's just do a single page of Shakespeare. That's about 2,000 characters. What do the odds look like now? The probability is about 1 in 10 to the power of 40,000. That's a 1 with 40,000 zeros after it. I mean, just to put that in perspective for you, scientists estimate there are only about 10 to the power of 80 atoms in the entire observable universe. This number on the screen, it just breaks your brain. It's that big. And that gets us right to the heart of it. The theorem doesn't work because the monkey is smart. It works because the amount of time is infinite. Infinity is the magic ingredient here, a concept so huge it can conquer even the most ridiculous astronomical odds. So this all feels pretty theoretical, right? Let's bring it back down to earth a bit and see how this idea actually plays out, with real monkeys, with computers, and even with a little bit of AI. You have to wonder, right? Has anyone actually tried this? Have we really put monkeys in front of typewriters, or maybe hooked it up to a supercomputer? Well, yep, they've tried it. Back in 2003, some researchers actually tried this with real monkeys. The result? Mostly gibberish. Oh, and a broken keyboard. Now, computers, of course, are way, way faster. They can spit out random text at unbelievable speeds. And while it's still pretty much all nonsense, they do, every now and then, purely by chance, stumble upon a real word, or even a short phrase from Shakespeare. Which brings us right back around to our two little literary geniuses here. We've been looking at them this whole time as a fun way to imagine this thought experiment. But here's the really cool modern twist to this whole thing. These monkeys, they weren't just using computers. They were actually created by one. These are AI-generated images. So in a funny way, they're their own kind of randomness plus rules that leads to a result that makes sense, which is a pretty fascinating parallel. So let's get to the real takeaway here. What is the actual difference between something being truly impossible and just being infinitely unlikely? This chart breaks it down perfectly. What the theorem doesn't mean is that you should go check your local zoo for a monkey writing the next bestseller. It's not a practical guide for making art. But what it does mean is that it's this powerful tool for our minds. It helps us wrap our heads around the incredible power of infinite time and what randomness really is. At the end of the day, the infinite monkey theorem lives in that gigantic space between highly, wildly, mind-bogglingly improbable and technically not impossible, and it teaches us that those two things are absolutely not the same. And that leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. If pure, unguided randomness, when you give it enough time, can theoretically create something as complex and beautiful as Shakespeare's plays, what does that imply about the complexity and beauty we see all around us in our own universe? Definitely something to think about.